The goal of this podcast is to help you break in and thrive in the marketing communications industry. Always has been, always will be. So today we have Nick Stoner as your guest. Nick Stoner is a copywriter at Wieden and Kennedy in Portland. Previously, he's worked at DDB and FCB in Chicago and got his start at Trisect. He's got some helpful info nuggets that will hopefully help you thrive long-term as an aspiring creative. And I met Nick through Chicago Portfolio School, where he's teaching a copywriting cohort. I love Nick because he is so honest in his feedback and every week teaches students that good work makes us feel something. And making those feelings happen is up to us. So you're going to hear a casual conversation with Nick and myself today. It starts talking about a new campaign for TurboTax that he made with his partner. And if you watch TV or sports, or even if you don't watch TV at all, you've probably seen it. And you might even recognize some other iconic work he and his partner Nick have made. For example, Nick and his AD partner Nick, so we got two Nicks here that we're going to talk about, were the geniuses behind Miller Lite's Father's Day activation of the Shoezy. The Shoezy is interesting. So they teamed up with New Balance to create a beer koozie out of the 624 shoe. If you know the 624 shoe, let me help you paint a picture. It's basically that white gym shoe that fathers prefer to mow the lawn in the summer. They get all green. So the whole thing was a dad shoe for your dad's beer. There's no question that Nick has credibility and value to add to your ear holes today. And before we get started, I want to mention that Chicago Portfolio School supports this episode. So due to COVID, many of the classes are currently online, but not all of them. So that brings some pros and cons, but I love that the school hires incredible instructors at agencies, not just in Chicago. And Nick is a perfect example. Whether you're in Chicago, Portland, or Amsterdam, you can create a fantastic portfolio in 1 year with help from instructors at some of the best agencies. And I know Nick has a passion for helping you out wherever you're at in your creative career. So the fastest and easiest way to connect with him is to head to our Instagram at Breaking and Entering Pod, all one word at Breaking and Entering Pod on Instagram. His LinkedIn portfolio and some secret resources he's recommended are all listed there. So this is a fun conversation. I'm excited for you to listen. So let's get right to it. This is the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast, and as you, your accomplice, Gino Schellenberger. Kick it, Mikey. All right, Nick Stoner, welcome to Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast. Thank you so much for coming on. How are you doing today?
I am doing good. I am cold, but I'm good.
We're in Chicago. It is cold. It's about 9 degrees, like you said. And you're at home. I have to commute home, so you're lucky. But life is good. What's new with you? You just come out with a new piece or a new work for
we did.
TurboTax?
We did, yeah. So we've been working on TurboTax for the last few months, and it's kind of a big push up. Tax season officially starts January 1st. If people didn't know, if you have simple taxes, they're free until January 15th or February 15th, I should say. So I think I have to say that.
Wow.
But yeah, no, we have
that is so boring.
We have a bunch of spots coming up.
How do you make something as
if you watch football?
What about football?
You'll see them if you've been watching football.
Okay. Nice.
I've seen them.
Yeah. I stream. So
you'll see them if you stream. You'll see them if you podcast. You'll see them. They'll probably get you in your dreams. They really want you to do your taxes.
I love that. Well, it's such a boring topic. How do you make something like that?
That's a good question. Humor. You just try to be funny. I mean, that's kind of a broad thing to say. Taxes are life. It's the things you do, and we do funny things.
Death and taxes are guaranteed.
Me and my partner's name is also Nick. We have a death and taxes idea that we're going to do one day.
You got to do it.
Probably not for TurboTax, not for taxes, but for something.
Okay.
Cooking. So
that's cooking. So let's talk about that. I think, well, obviously people will probably click on this episode more than other episodes already because the title and that it has Wieden Kennedy in it. That's just naturally what happens when we.
A lot of pressure.
Well, we post. You can handle it. We post whenever we post Wieden Kennedy, Droga 5, or actually Amazon, the big names, people are going to show up. So we have to show up too. So tell us about yourself, Nick. What's your role at Wieden Kennedy in Portland, which is a distinct.
Yeah, well, I've been around. Wieden is the fourth agency I've been at, and I'm from Chicago originally. So I got my start here in the city at a small place in the West Loop called Trisect. It's now called Match. I was about to say Match.com. It is not called Match.com. Then I went on over to FCB in Chicago and was there for a couple of years. Met a lot of great people. Then was at DDB, and then just recently, my partner and I started at Wieden, and I'm in Chicago at the moment remotely, but moving very soon, in a couple of weeks actually. And I'm a copywriter, and yeah, if you don't know what a copywriter is and you're listening to this podcast, I don't know what to tell you. So
yeah.
Maybe we can talk about it.
We'll talk about it for sure. But I mean, I think it's important to note that we met through Chicago Portfolio School. I'm not 100% sponsored by them. It's just, I record here at the school. I work here. I always like to give a nod of the head to that. And how you liking it teaching there? I'm just curious. I just want to get to know, like, what is that a lot of your time, or how's that going? What's the rundown like teaching there?
It's great. I mean, I love teaching advertising to students because you have such a misconception of what it is when you're on the outside, and just being able to talk to people and be like, actually, what makes a great ad? Like, what are ads you like? I'm always shocked. I try to do in my classes show as many ads as possible. Kind of pride ourselves on having a repository of just ads in our heads that we can just pull up. And I'm always amazed that people haven't seen them. Very famous ads, very just fantastic things. So I love just kind of showing what's possible, because it always opens people's eyes and they go, wait, you can do that?
Oh yeah, you have to. You have to.
You can kind of do anything, actually. It's
exactly
really surprising.
I love that. And you have to have a repository, like you said. I'm having Luke Sullivan on soon. Hey, Whipple, Squeeze This, author. And I'm rereading his book. He wrote a stack of CAs is an advertising graduate school in itself. You gotta read through the communication art manuals.
Yeah. And you build it over time. And depending on what generation you're from, your references will be different. But I always listen to your elders when they're telling you what the great stuff is, what it was like, what their favorite ads are, because I guarantee you things you think are groundbreaking are not. Things you think you're doing for the first time, you're absolutely not doing for the first time. So it's really good to be aware, and you'll find gems from 30 years ago that just blow your mind. Say, wow, they did that then.
Yeah. So you talk about your mentors. So I'm curious, what's it like working at Wieden? How recently have you been employed there?
That's coming around the 6-month mark.
Okay. So you got a good feel in agency time. That's a good amount of time. So what's it like working there? I know you're remote right now, but what's the feel? Does it feel like a special place? Or people you're working with, are they that great? What's it like on your end?
I mean, the people are great. People are great everywhere, though. And I would say agencies are agencies. If you think a place is special because of a name or something, you're not thinking about it right. Like you are the creative person walking in the door. What are you gonna make that day? And you can do that at any place, wherever you are. The name on the door doesn't matter.
So what do you look for?
It's what you do at work.
Okay, so what do you look for when you're looking at new jobs? What's important to you?
That's a good question. I mean, the people you're going to work for are important. Who's actually going to be your day-to-day, who's going to be your CD, who's going to be your ECD, who's going to be the CCO, what kind of work have they made in the last few years? Are they doing things that are interesting? Are they doing things do they seem to just be making work that's like passable and just kind of middling, or are they trying to push the envelope, do things that people haven't seen before, surprise people? I really look more beyond a name. the actual people you're going to interact. I would when you're interviewing and stuff, ask that and already know too. If they say, oh, the job's for this account or whatever, well, look up who's working on those accounts, who's made that work, look at their books and kind of interrogate them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So you did that with Wieden, and you like them so much that you will be moving from Chicago to Portland.
Yes, me, my wife, my partner, my art director, his wife, our dogs. It's a lot of creatures.
Yeah, I hope you're not calling. Anyways, your partner, his name is Nick as well, and your website, your portfolio is cool. It's the Knicks, and you got the little Knicks logo. I don't know if that's legal, but that's interesting. And then, how long have you guys been working together for?
What?
How long have you guys been working together for?
We have been working together for 9, almost 10 years.
Yes.
What's the key? Yeah. What's the key? What's the key to a healthy relationship? Being the same, but completely different people. We actually, we did not know this, but we grew up about 10 minutes from each other.
Where'd you grow up?
I'm from Palatine. He's from Barrington.
Did you go to Friend?
I did go to Friend. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
But
go every high school in Illinois.
It's the only high school here. Yeah. Everyone from Illinois went to Friend.
No. Yeah. Palatine's a good high school too.
Yeah. Yeah. I play soccer with all those. If they're listening, they're not listening. But what was I going to say? We met as interns at our first agency and we got along, but we're very different people. He's the details. I'm like a big picture guy, but we mesh. I'd say a secret, constant communication, just always being in communication all the time. Just like, and we don't talk about advertising. Actually, we actually talk about advertising very seldomly, I'd say. When we work the way we work, we go on long walks and usually talk about not advertising and not the problem and not the project. And then usually in some form, an idea emerges out of that will say, oh, that would be interesting. Why don't we go back to our desk for 10 minutes and jot that down? And I don't know, I've been doing it a long time. So
I love it. You guys have created some great work, and that's no surprise. I mean, the Shoesy Miller Lite.
The Shoesy, yeah, that was a good one.
Love that. Shoe for your beer. So was that a collaboration? What was going on there? Tell us about that.
That was Miller Lite. We worked on Miller Lite for a long time at DDB. Yeah. And they are a fantastic client. The CMO, she's known as MSJ in the industry. If you don't know her, look her up. She really has a drive to make great marketing, just some of the best stuff out there. And so and we had that freedom to do that on Miller Lite. So when you have a client like that who just asks you to say, I want the best, and I want the best stuff. I want stuff we haven't seen before. I want stuff that's going to get press. I mean, that came directly from her kind of initiative. And that frees us up as creative people to go, well, that's a challenge. Like, it kind of takes the burden off of our shoulders to go sell a great idea. We're expected to come with a great idea. So it's a very cool position to be in. So that project was for Father's Day, did not have a lot of money, probably hardly any money. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It rose very organically. I think from one of our teams, we were CDs on that project. It was like, hey, all this dad fashion, and Miller Lite is known as a dad beer, which they've run away from in the past. They try to shed that to market to the younger crowd, the Gen Z. They're like, no one wants to be drinking your dad's beer. But we were like, well, actually, people are wearing these New Balances. Gen Z is actually wearing these New Balances. They're having a resurgence. Everything that's old is new. We live in the age of meta irony, whatever. And so we sold it based on that. And we called up New Balance, and we just cold called them actually and said, hey, would you guys be down for this? And I think they were actually probably thrilled we weren't pitching a Miller Lite shoe. That was part of the pitch. We're like, no, it's not a shoe. It's better. And then we actually made a shoe koozie out of real shoes. Real shoes. I have the pictures.
Did you ever make them?
Oh yeah, no, we were in the factory making them.
No way. Do you have one on you? Pull one up.
I don't have one on me. We
Come on.
only made 50.
If you pulled one up right now, it would make for the best video on Instagram, like best podcast.
Sorry,
video.
guys.
That's okay. It's really cool though. It's a really great idea.
That was one of our inventions we made on Miller Lite. We made a few. We also made a controller. We turned a can into a fully functional controller without our goal with that one was not to add anything on. Or we were like, it has to look like a normal can of Miller Lite. And we worked with some engineers at this production company, Unit 9. And that was really mind-boggling for them. They were really
it worked actually?
Oh yeah, it was Bluetooth enabled, hooked up.
No shit.
Oh, you should watch the case study, Gino. Come on,
I gotta
man.
watch it. Eric Andre, I see right here.
Yes.
Yeah. Very cool.
No, that was a good one.
Well, Miller Time. Tell us about Miller Time. I have some friends that talk. Well, actually, before we move on from the Shoesy, I got to shout out Anthony DePurdy, a friend of mine, in our friends group chat. He sent that photo and he's like, "You guys got to see this." And he like added me. He's like, "Gino, this is good advertising right here." I'm like, "True that." And now we're talking. So that came full circle. But tell us about Miller Time. Explain that process because that's such a great campaign. What was your involvement with that? How was that born? What's the situation?
Do you mean the followers spot?
Yeah. Well, no, it says it's Miller Time here. 2 DNAD, 2 shortlist. What's this?
I have to look.
It's Miller Time.
Spot is it? Yeah. Let me go to my own portfolio. Let's see what you're looking at.
I'm looking at it now. Would you rather be drinking beers with your friends than meeting your in-laws, networking, or listening to some asshole accept an award? Of course, pretty much everyone would. It's only beer to actually.
So that was yes. So that was actually the second iteration of our It's Miller Time campaign. But the idea was they have a lot of testing that says people drink Miller Lite when they're with their closest friends. That's when they do it. So we always wanted to show these really intimate friend gatherings and basically kind of show that the beer, if you crack open one of these beers, you're instantly comfortable. You're with your friends, no matter where you are. So the idea to kind of get sucked out of these uncomfortable situations into the comfort of your friends, that just was a cool role for the product. And that's when it's Miller Time, when you're in that comfort zone. And I think defining, people always talked Miller Time. They think, well, it's the time. It's 5 p.m. It's time. It's the time you have a beer. But redefining the time as a feeling of comfort and of friendship was really the goal of those spots.
Love it. No, great work. And there's so much on your site that is interesting and inspirational. So if you're an aspiring copywriter or art director or creative strategist, anything, make sure you go check that out. thenix.work is the URL.
thenix.work. That always gets me. I'm always like, where's my portfolio?
.work. thenix.com wasn't available.
No, or is extra expensive. Don't let those Squarespace people rip you off. If someone's holding your domain, just do something else.
Yeah.
Pizza.ca.work.
Yeah, you got to find ways around it. You're not going to pay somebody $5,000 for a URL.
I mean, maybe for balling. I don't know.
Maybe. If you are, you're not listening to this podcast. Okay, let's kick it back to how you got started. What was the moment where you're like, okay, I want to do this as a career? Was it in college? Was it younger? Where were you at when you decided this is what I'm going to do?
It was in college. I went to Mizzou for journalism, as all people who aren't from Missouri go to Mizzou to do. It didn't take me very long to find out I was a bad journalist. I couldn't do what you're doing. I was not good at interviewing people and asking people questions. I don't know why. Maybe that's probably just a me problem.
I'm not very good at it either.
But apparently, I don't remember this at all. My parents tell me I called them one day and told them I wasn't going to be a journalist anymore. I was going to be in advertising, and I think they took that very hard. And they said I went to a lecture, and I gave them a call. I don't remember what the lecture was. It must have been an advertising person who did exactly what good ad does, which is emotionally shock you, completely change your mind. But then I don't remember who told me. who told me to do it. But Mizzou had a good program, an ad program that they call strategic communications, which was very strategic of them to not let you know you're doing advertising when you are doing advertising. And I made a book in that program. So I actually didn't go to portfolio school. The book was not good. It was very done by me, a copywriter with very minimal skills. And I kind of knew that. I knew it wasn't very good. So I didn't even apply when I started applying to like the big places, like weren't even on my radar. I was like, I just want a job and I'll kind of learn. If I can get a job, if I can get an internship, I'll learn. And so I did. I got this internship at Trisect, which was one of the really hot shops at the time, about 150 people.
Oh, wow.
Doing great work. And it was a really great place to start. It really was. Like, I mean, people say the cliche, like a family, but like we had a good, on Fridays, we stayed at work all night, like hanging out, drinking, like we were actually friends.
Wow. Is this still an agency?
I really haven't worked in I mean, maybe it was because I was 22, but maybe it was also that it's just a great environment to be in.
Is it still around?
It's called Match now.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that. Match, not Match.com, just Match.
Not Match.com. Nothing against Match.com. I mean, I'm sure they'd be a good client.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Well, I mean, Ryan Reynolds is making the devil spot, right? Like, yeah, that's good stuff.
Ryan Reynolds is a big hit right now.
He's a big hit. We can talk fast advertising is his thing.
Yeah, be quick.
You gotta be quick. Sometimes you're too quick, and then it turns out the news goes bad, and then you gotta pull it. But
yeah, but I mean, also people are willing to listen to him and be quick with his little agency.
It really helps.
Yeah,
it's the smile and the hair.
Oh yeah, I mean, you can't beat it. Listen, if I could have Ryan Reynolds on right now and I had to choose between you and him, I'd pick you.
I'll get you. Maybe we'll see. Maybe you can get Ryan. Let's, our combined efforts. Our talk gets like 50 listens.
Yeah,
Let's
not overshoot.
50 listens.
No, what's cool is that you had you realized at the time that you're not going to be shooting for these large agencies, but you still landed somewhere pretty great. It seemed like where you had a good experience, and you didn't go to portfolio school. Now, Mizzou is a great school.
It is.
And it's up there with your UT Austin's, Oregon, whatever.
Yeah, and you can eat as many toasted raviolis as you can stomach, and
that's fun.
Get a great education.
That's great. Toasted ravioli sounds good. But you didn't go to portfolio school. But how did you land that first job? Did you have any internships? How'd you get in that Trisect?
Oh yeah. No, it was an intern. It was an internship. It was not a job. It was an internship.
Did it lead into a job, or
with a competitive shoot with people for the job. And so Nick and I did end up getting that job. And there are a lot of all those people I worked with have all moved on and have done great things in the industry. So, yeah.
So the internship, obviously, when you get an internship like that, it is, and that was after you graduated, you had an internship?
Yes.
That's pretty standard still today.
It's still standard. It's still a good way to do it. I view it as, I didn't go to portfolio school, but I was at Trisect about 2 years. That was my portfolio. I learned everything I know from the people there. Yeah, but
were you able to fill your book in with that work from Trisect, or did you have to do stuff on your own?
Your book is always evolving as you go through your career. It should be. You don't ever think, oh, my book's done. Today's the day my book is done.
Nope.
I just finished a project. I threw it in my book and that's it. I'll never update it again. No, we are updating our book. Hopefully, people say, how many book pieces did you do this year? A good year, a great year is 2 book pieces. Yeah. If you are doing better than that, you're doing fantastically.
Well, that's the thing.
You make a lot more. You make a lot more in a year. You make a lot of stuff. You're working all the time. You're making stuff, and you should always strive, of course, to make it a book piece. But and it's up to your standards, what you decide. Like, is this for me? Is this for my book? Is it not?
Yeah, that's kind of what we preach here. It's like you can, and you were pretty lucky that you were at a pretty good agency to start off. It seems like where it gave you opportunities,
Well,
but sometimes,
we worked below the line. We were making a lot of shippers promotions,
Mhm.
microsites. I mean, we were learning. We weren't getting the red meat, as they say.
yes,
But we were able to turn all that experience and then kind of go off and start doing some of the things we wanted to do
within the agency or on your own.
within the agency. Then we moved,
Okay,
or yeah, then we moved over to FCB and started doing some different stuff.
gotcha. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a progression. And it can be slow, and it takes, I think patience. I see a lot. We see young creatives come in sometimes from portfolio school, and they have great books and they have great ideas and very gung ho, and they get frustrated really quickly. They hit 6 months and they're like, I haven't made anything. I haven't even sold anything. I don't know what I'm doing. And they get frustrated immediately. And it's hard to see because this business, it seems fast, but it's actually, success is slow. And it takes patience, and it takes time, and it takes a great understanding of your clients. This is a people business. You have to know them, and you have to work with them. You're not going to make something great if you're trying to force feed it to people who don't like you or don't want to listen to you.
so these people, you notice they're getting frustrated quick.
Yeah, it's a common thing. So I would just say, if you're in that position, just kind of think about it. Things take time. Things take time.
When did you know from Match to FCB to Wieden? What was like, what triggered you? Like, all right, it's time to go.
You get to a point where you kind of want to, you feel like you've either worked on a lot of the accounts in the building. At FCB, when we were at FCB, we had worked on a lot of things. We just made a Super Bowl spot, and we just felt like we wanted the next challenge. We was like, okay, what's our next challenge? What's the next thing? And we never wanted to get comfortable ever. So I think that's part of it. And even in our move now to Portland, the idea that not only are we going to go to yet another agency, but we're gonna uproot our lives. I think that's a creative. That in itself is a creative challenge that I've always wanted to take on.
That's pretty scary.
I'm always kind of in awe of our industry. Is very international. All the international people I've worked with who come, they've traveled the world and have landed in the office with us, and that stuff takes, discount that sort of bravery that takes.
Oh yeah, that's scary.
Yeah,
I was scared to leave the suburbs of Chicago. That's a big deal. That's awesome.
There is. I will go on with that question. When I was growing up in the suburbs of Chicago, I would come downtown and I'd look at the buildings and I'd be like, oh man, imagine working in one of those. And then like
the Death Star, Leo Burnett building.
And then one day, like you're 24 and you're like, oh shit, I'm doing the thing I like thought was going to be the end of like, oh, if I end up there, I've made it. And then all of a sudden you're there and you're like, oh, what do I do now?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Chicago while we're on the topic.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the ad scene? Well, we can talk about food if you want.
No, let's talk about the ad scene.
Okay. What are your thoughts on it?
Chicago's a great ad scene. It's been a great ad city, but the problem is we get a bad rap from the coast because everyone thinks, oh, I have to go to New York, I have to go to LA,
Richmond,
or Richmond, which is
Richmond's been popping off.
But you look around the city. I mean, what FCB, most awarded agency of the year last year, DDB, the work we were making on Miller and Skittles and all these things, legacy places. Leo, that's always there, is a giant making great things.
Smaller.
Well, High Dive is taking off.
Yeah.
And when you look around, who's making a lot of the great work that you like, I think it's discounted a lot how much of it comes out of Chicago, and how international we are. You walk into any agency, it's not just a bunch of people talking about cheese and pizza. It's a thriving place. I'm very proud of it. And one of my goals has always been to represent our city in the best light, and to, when you do get to a Cannes, when you get to the international stage, like yes, we are from the Midwest and we have great taste. And like,
yeah, you got to rep, but you are leaving, so I don't know. This counts. But what's interesting though, and my other point is, New York is pretty damn cool. I'm from Chicago, like yourself, and I visited only a couple times, and I've seen some of the agency there. And this argument always comes, like, New York is pretty damn cool too, though. And that would be the other city I would have to check out if I were to go.
Some people are New York people. And when you meet a New York person, they're a New York person. It's a different vibe. I like to visit. It's always really, really fun.
Great to visit. Living there, that's another story, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's the living there. LA, also love LA.
I've never been.
I recommend it. Now the thing though, it's like, oh, you want to go to dinner? Okay, 45 minutes later, we're at dinner. Oh, you want to go to this place? Okay, 45 minutes. I joke when I'm in LA, everything's 45 minutes away.
Where are you at right now?
In Chicago?
We're in what neighborhood?
I'm in Logan Square.
Gotcha. Yeah. So you like Chicago, you're representing Chicago, but you're going to Portland. Portland's pretty cool too. It's beautiful there. There's vampires there if you're a Twilight fan. But
yes. And Sasquatches for Christmas. One of my gifts was a Sasquatch guidebook.
Oh.
Help me identify prints and fur and everything you would need to go hunt some Sasquatch.
Love it. That's pretty cool.
Can't wait.
So that's how you broke in. Let's recap. You were at Mizzou, which is a great journalism / ad school, strategic communications. You found an internship, and that was after you graduated. You got in without the best book, but you were able to work on it. You proved yourself with your buddy Nick, who you're still partners with today. That was your break-in. And then you went on to bigger and better and bigger and better, and now you're bigger and hopefully better to Portland.
Yes.
Are we missing any big steps along that path?
You know what our first project was?
No.
Our first real project when we got hired. It was for Hunt's Chili.
Ooh.
It was for a Halloween shipper. We decided, let's put the chili in a cauldron. And I said, Nick, can you put the chili in the cauldron? And he said, I don't know how to do that. And I was like, man, we're fucked.
Put the chili in the cauldron. You couldn't do that? Did you figure it out?
He had to ask. He had to ask someone. Always ask someone. If you don't have the skill, just ask someone, because everyone is making it up, and very nice people will teach you the things they know, and then you will know them. And that is how the whole industry works.
Mm-hmm. What's like a piece of work? What's a work that you're most proud of?
I mean, I'm most proud of, I really liked Followers, the spot we made with this director, Ringen Ledwidge, who recently passed away. Incredible director. I like the campaign for a few reasons. I loved the message. We were relaunching It's Miller Time originally, and we realized everyone's so obsessed with social media, with getting likes, with being an influencer, and we were just like, bullshit. What happened to just hanging out, drinking beers? And so we sold the clients a campaign that's like, we're going to hold a middle finger up to social media, which seemed kind of crazy. And then they said, great, we love that message. How are we going to promote it? You know what? And they gave us the freedom to go make this spot, which if you watch Followers, it's 90 seconds in black and white. It's a film noir. And it's this epic chase that we shot in Vancouver over the course of 5 days with Ringen, who was an amazing person. And I think, is it the greatest spot ever made? No. But is it one of the things I'm definitely most proud of, and I think shows like some sense of art?
Mm-hmm.
If we dare to even strive for making that in our work, then yeah. Oh. So I really love that one.
And that wasn't a hard sell to the client.
So ringing to people unfamiliar with the production process, you write a script and then you send it to directors and then they send you their treatment back. And we sent Ringin our deck to him was maybe like 4 pages. He came back with like a 30-page written like screenplay of what the spot was going to be.
Oh, really?
Which I'd never seen before. I've never seen since. And we did read that to the clients, and it was written in such it was a wonderful screenplay that you could basically see it in your head. And everyone went, yes, we have to. Yes, I guess this has to be the thing. It's really an incredible experience.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of like the biggest lessons that you've learned along your path here as you're now at Wieden along the way? What are some big things, do's and don'ts, biggest regrets? What would you tell your younger self? Anything along those lines?
See, do's and don'ts. Do say your stupidest idea out loud. I kind of love that. I think we made there's a spot in our book for Liquid Plumber. It's about butt cracks. And when we were brainstorming that, I remember sitting with Nick and we're like maybe 3 hours pounding our heads against the wall. We had nothing, no ideas. In my head the whole time I'd been like, well, plumber's crack. And then I think after like 3 hours, I finally was like, well, we can't make a spot about butt cracks. Like, obviously not. But then, of course,
maybe you can.
Actually, you can. And I think in those situations, sometimes it's very easy to like think and overthink. And usually the solution is really simple. And usually it's one of the first things you thought of. And usually it's very stupid. And that's totally fine. That's totally fine. I'd say don't kill yourself. If you find yourself at the office and you're exhausted, fucking go home. Like, don't.
Yeah.
I have solved so many more things at home when I'm not working. Like, I'm not sitting at the computer. I'm just like relaxing, finally making dinner, watching a movie, or it'll hit me. It's a cliche, but it'll hit me on the bus or something. Like, oh,
exactly.
Literally, don't sit there and do that. I mean, don't mistake me for saying don't work.
No,
work, right? A lot, but if you're really tired and exhausted, stop.
Yeah, you got to let your subconscious play a part. Think about the problem, do your research, think about it, think really hard, then go for a walk, go chill, go home.
Yeah, I think people get stressed because it's a business where you have to have an idea and there's a timeline and you have to have something. I remember, I think our first day at FCB, Michael Foschnott, who's now the CMO of actually the city of Chicago, he was the president of FCB at the time. And someone raised their hand. They said, how do you be successful in this agency? And he held up a blank piece of paper and he kind of shook it. And he said, make this, make things. And it was like, oh yeah. At the end of the day, you have to make things. On that point, I'll say Nick and I have a phrase we like to say, which is links and JPEGs. I think everyone's getting very confused in the media landscape of today. What is social? What is a big idea? Are we doing fast advertising? But to us, everything comes down to, it's either going to be a JPEG, it's going to be a picture, or it's going to be a link. It's going to be a video of some. So whatever your idea is, if you think you even have an idea, well, ask yourself, okay, what's the JPEG? What's the link? And if you can't answer that question, if you don't know, you might not have an idea, actually, which happens a lot. Sometimes you think this is such a great idea. And then you sit down, try to write a script or try to make a print ad, try to draw something in a rectangle, and you go, I don't know what to do. It's a bad situation to be in.
That's tough. I want to ask you, what is your tip? Because you wrote it down here. What's your advice to find recruiters on LinkedIn? This
is important. So if you're like, oh, I want to work at whatever agency, say DDB, Wieden Kennedy, whatever, I wonder who the recruiter is. Go to LinkedIn and search agency name, Wieden Kennedy recruiter. And guess what? They'll pop up, and then you can connect to them and send them messages. And since they are recruiters, they don't mind getting messages from people with great books looking for great jobs.
That's beautiful advice. I thought you were going to say something much more complex, and I'm so glad it's simple. And I got one too, really simple too.
Yeah.
On LinkedIn.
Yeah.
You ever see those? Like, everybody see these. LinkedIn, I just got this new job. I'm now working at Droga 5.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. I appreciate. And also thank you to recruiter name linked here for your help. So all those self-promotion posts that you make you want to throw up, they oftentimes include the recruiter that got them there. So go when they post that, click on that recruiter's name and then go say, hey, what's up?
Yeah. Yeah. I always just like update the job title. I've never made a
You
job.
and me are very similar then, but some people like to
do the post.
They like to do the photo, talk about a JPEG, a link. They do a photo, link, JPEG, all in their one post, which is fine.
I'll say something that's probably going to make a lot of people gag. LinkedIn can be pretty fun. I mean, it's extremely nerdy, businessy thing of me to say.
I love LinkedIn. That's how I do this podcast.
You see a lot of good work actually when people do share it, and I like when creatives just share the video of the spot, like not the link to the article or whatever, just like the thing itself, and then I can just watch it on LinkedIn. Oh, that's the best experience. And you see a lot of good stuff. And people start follow production companies, follow the agencies, like all the agencies, because then you'll see their work, and you'll see more things than just reading the trades or seeing what creativity covers, because that's a fraction of the work that's going on, and not necessarily the best stuff. I'm always shocked when award season comes around and you start seeing stuff, and it's like, where was all this stuff? How did this not get covered? Oh, this is unbelievable.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. If you can make the learning a part of your daily scrolling, not learning, but just like looking at great work by following all those people.
Oh, I'm just watching work all day. It's really that's a large majority. That's where the repertoire comes from, though.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, as a creative, it's a necessity.
Yeah, it really is.
All right. Anything else that you want to talk about that we didn't cover that you're itching to get out? Maybe you were thinking about today, like, oh, I really want to bring this up. Maybe before you went to sleep.
I mean, I would just advertising's a great industry. It's a hard time right now. We're all working remote. Everyone's quitting their jobs for one reason or the other. But I've always just had so much fun doing this job. And I think that's an important thing to remember, that like, it's just a fun job. We just get to kind of hang out and tell jokes and solve really unique problems and work on a huge number of different industries. That's just something it's super rare. And if you want to learn about whatever, you have the opportunity to do that. If you want to travel, you have the opportunity to do that. I mean, you meet real artists, real celebrities. The people who are going to mentor you and take care of you are going to be some of the most interesting people you've ever met. I mean, it's just really a wonderful industry, and I will not apologize for saying that, and I'm not going to take any crap. So,
love it. Great. And you also came up with amazing resources, but we're not going to talk about them now because we're going to link to those on my Instagram, Breaking and Entering Pod. Breaking and Entering Pod. You can find all of Nick's resources. He's great book choices, great podcast. He's got a movie on here. It's good stuff. It'll help you out just as a creative. I'm
yeah, sure. I would say about all that stuff, none of that is advertising related. Because
nor should it be.
I don't think any of the creative things you consume in your off time should be about the business. Go learn things and go be an interesting person.
And how can people reach out to you if they want to talk to you or have more questions?
However, whatever your media of choice is, if you want to tweet me, if you want to LinkedIn me, if you want to shoot me an email, my email's on my LinkedIn.
Okay. That's the best. So we'll link your LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Nick, this has been great. Thanks for opening up and talking and telling us all this great advice. We appreciate having you on. We will be in touch, but have a great day.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Did you hear anything on this episode about a job you'd like to have someday, soon, in advertising, strategy, design? The kind of job where you use your brain and your creativity? If you did, chances are a portfolio can really help you get that job. That's where Chicago Portfolio School comes in. They have programs and classes that help you show off your thinking and get you the job you want. So visit them at chicagoportfolio.com. And if you drop my name, Gino, into the chat box, they'll send you more info and a cool Sharpie. Or just some more info. You can decide that. Thanks. Thank you so much for listening to this entire episode of the Breaking and Entering Advertising podcast. If you like what you heard, it would mean a lot to us and help us grow and get better guests and better break-ins if you can go to Apple Podcasts and leave us 5 stars and a small review if you have the time. Be sure to connect with our guests if you like what they said by going to our Instagram at Breaking and Entering Pod. That's all one word, Breaking and Entering Pod on Instagram. We have links to their portfolios and their LinkedIn, and they want to connect, so do that. And thank yous. Thank you to Mikey Malarkey, our audio engineer, and Buchan Zhang, our creative director. Can't do without you two, and a team from the University of Illinois. It's a student team from the agency called AdBuzz, their PR agency, and it's been a pleasure working with them. Thank you all so much, and we will see you next week with another amazing guest.